no millions, so we don't have to put that down. So we can skip over to the next place value, which is 100,000. We have 200,000. So we wrote 200,000. Then we added two 10,000s, which is 20,000. Then we added 2,000. There's your 2,000. And then we don't have any hundreds and we don't have any tens, so we don't have to worry about that. We skip all the way over or down to the least place value, which is 9 ones, and we added 9 ones. For your initial design, I want to remind you, use your initials. I don't have a middle name, so my initials are CA. Hopefully you'll make yours more colorful than mine. For word form, we take our big number and we just say it to ourselves. 10,222,009. And we write the words that we hear or we have said. So I wrote 10,222,009. Okay? And then we're going to scoot down to our group members' birthdays. Now some of you have asked, can my group member be my family? And of course it can. They're your group at home. You do not have to use students in the classroom. So I hope that you will ask all of your family members this weekend, if you haven't already filled this out with your group members in the classroom, and you will find out all of their birthdays. Okay? And then write their big numbers. I've given you some good examples here. Remember, I pretended to be Tom, whose birthday is 10/22/2009. You rewrite every number. 10/22/2009, and then you add your period commas in there. So you go ones, tens, hundreds, comma. That's a period. That's the ones period. Then we go ones, tens, hundreds, comma. That's the thousands period. Every 3 place values is a different period. And then of course we have 10. Then I did myself, 7/30/1969. So I wrote 7. Remember, you don't need the 0, excuse me, because it doesn't represent a place value. It's just 0 when there's nothing else after it in a greater place value. 30/1969, and then I counted the periods to make it a number and have value. Ones, tens, hundreds, there's your first period, comma. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. So I get 7,301,969. Now I threw my astrological sign in there. You'll have to look that up. That's some fun research if your parents will let you. Look up the months. I am July 30th. You actually have to look at the month number and the date, because July has 2 different signs based on the date or the day that I was born. Okay, I gave you an example with Paisley's birthday. She was born October 12th, 2017. So I wrote 10/12/2017 and again broke it up in periods. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. And then I wrote 10. I gave you my daughter Kelly's birthday, 3/5/1995. So I wrote 3/05/1995. Now the reason why we have to put the 0 in here, if you remember, is because there's a greater place value before it. There is a millions place. So you can't get rid of this 0 because it represents the 100,000s, because you have millions. You gotta keep that 0 in there. And again, ones, tens, hundreds, comma. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. You have the units period or the ones period. Then you have the thousands period. And then you have the ones for the millions period. I also have Elliot's birthday, a student of ours in our classroom, 3/4/2010. This is a different way to write it. I wanted to show you with the dashes and remind you that that is okay. And then you write your digits, starting with the greatest place value, 3/04/2010, and then I inserted my period commas to make it 3,042,010. Then we have Peyton's birthday, 7/5/2010, 7,052,010. We'll scoot on down to greatest to least and find the sum. So I've already listed, sorry, there's something on that. I've already listed my big numbers of my 1 through 6 group members' birthdays in order from greatest to least. If you haven't done that yet, you're going to want to either copy what I have if you're using my example to fill this out, or pause the video and sort your big numbers, your members' birthdays, in order from greatest to least. And I wanted to point out, I used our strategy, our word problem strategy that we practiced yesterday, and I underlined in order, greatest to least. I circled my number 1 is the greatest, and then I circled my number 6 will be the least. So if you start with your number 1 as your greatest and fill in your number 6 as your least value, then it might be easier for you to fill those in. Remember, we are working in the millions place value, so you have to start with your greatest place value side to figure out what is the greatest and what is the least. I'll give you an example on both sides. I have 2 big numbers of people who are born in March, and that is represented by the number 3, and our big number is 3 million. So we have to scoot over to our 100,000s. Well, they both have 0 100,000s. So I have to scoot on over to our 10,000s place value to compare those. I have a 4 10,000s and I have a 5 10,000s. Well, now I found out that this big number is less than this big number because this one has 4 and this one has 5. 5 is greater than 4. So I plugged in this big number, then put this one in there. I compared my 2 10 million numbers because they both have 10 million. I had to jump all the way over to the 100,000s. This one only has 100,000. This one has 200,000. So I was able to fill in my greatest number here and then my next greatest number here, which left me with just my 7 million numbers. And that was pretty easy for me because I know that 7,300,000 is greater than 7,052,000. And so I plugged them in there. Then you can pop over to your find the difference. It says find the difference of one of your partner's birthdays and yourself. So I'm pretending to be, whoops, sorry about that. I'm pretending to be Tom. I'm not Miss Aarons for this example. So I wrote Tom's big number, 10/22/2009. And then I picked one over here. And I went down and I picked Peyton's. And I am going to subtract or find the difference from myself and Peyton. So remember, for subtraction, when you're finding the difference, you start at the least value in the ones column. 9 minus 0 is 9. We can't take 1 from 0, so we have to borrow. This is 0. We can't borrow anything from 0. So we keep going until we can borrow. Make that to a 1. Make that place value 10. Now we can borrow 1. We change that to a 9. Make that 10. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 0 is 9. We can't take 2 from 1, so again we have to jump over and borrow from that next greatest place value column. Change that 2 to a 1. Make that 1 an 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. And you can check yourself by counting up if you want. 9, 10, 11. So I know I'm right because I did the inverse operation in my head, which is addition, to make sure I got to 11. Again, I can't take 5 from 1, so I have to pop over and borrow again. Change the 2 to 1 and make that 11. I know that 5 plus 5 is 10, so I can just add one more, 6, and I know that 11 minus 5 is 6. So I've subtracted or found the difference using the inverse operation of addition. 1 minus 0 is 1. And I cannot take 7 from 0, but I know that this, if I borrow this 1, I'm just going to change this 0 to a 10. So I'm just going to go 10 minus 7 is 3. So my difference is ones, tens, hundreds, comma, ones, tens, hundreds, comma, because remember I don't have a value until I add the commas in the periods. I have a difference of 3,169,999. I'm going to find another difference in this box of one of my partner's birth dates and myself. And I'm pretending to be Tom, so I've got 10, 22, 2009, and I'm going to subtract my daughter's birthday, Kelly, 3/5/1995. I haven't given these value yet because I didn't insert the periods with the commas, and I usually don't do that until the end so I don't get confused. It's a lot easier just to do the subtraction or the addition and wait till the end to put in your commas because I already have my place value lines. And I do that to keep track, to make sure I only subtract the ones from the ones and the tens from the tens and the hundreds from the hundreds, and so on. 9 minus 5 is 4. I can't take 9 from 0, so I have to go over to the next greatest place value with a number in it, subtract 1 to borrow, change that 2 to a 1, make that a 10. I can now borrow from that place value in the hundreds, make that 900 instead of 1000, and I can give myself 10 tens. 10 tens minus 9 tens is 110. I can take 900 minus 900, that's 0. 1000 minus 1000 is 0. I cannot take 5 from 2, so again I have to borrow from this column, change that 2 to a 1, and make that 12. Now if you can't think automatically of what 12 minus 5 is, count up from 5 and use your fingers. It is okay to use your fingers. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've got 7. 12 minus 5 is 7. 1 minus 0 is 1. And then again, I can't take 3 from 0, but I know that if I borrow from this place value column, I'm just going to make that a 10, and it's already 10 because there's no numbers here that I have to subtract. So 10 minus 3 is 7. And now I'm going to give this number value ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. Ones, tens, hundreds, millions. Because this is the units place value period, this is the thousands, and we end up in the millions. So I end up with a difference of 7,170,014. Now that I've showed you how to find the difference and find the difference, you're going to find the sum. And remember that when you're finding the sum, you're going to be adding, because sum means add, okay? You want to find the sum of your group's birth dates. So whatever your group's big numbers are that you found, and if you only have 3 people in your family, it is okay to just have 3 big numbers, okay? I'm going to add all of these together. I wrote them down from greatest to least of the big numbers I wanted to use. And I'm going to put an addition button here to remind myself that I'm adding, because we've already subtracted and subtracted, so I don't want to get confused. I'm going to show you with the ones place value, and then I'm going to let you do your work on your own. So I'm going to start at the top. 9 plus 7 I know is 16. 16 plus 9. Now if you can't do that in your head, it is okay. I'm going to move this up a little bit to go 16 plus 9. And you can write it on this paper if you want. I know that I can count up from 9 if I don't know what that is by heart. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 9 plus 6 is 15. I am going to carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's 25 plus 5, 25. Count out by 5s. I get to 30. I write my 0 here. Carry my 3 up here. So I have 30. I carried my 3 10s over here. I'm going to keep adding. Now I like to show you a strategy at the beginning of the year. Remember, you can group your 10s, right? So it's easier to add that way. 9 plus 1 is 10, so that's 10. Plus 1 is 11. Plus 6 is 17. Plus 1 is 18. Plus 3 is 19, 20, 21. Put your 1, carry the 2. You keep on going that way until you get your big number.